Today we are going to start the new topic of the chapter 3rd, that is from fibers to wool. As we have discussed some key points in the last video, these are definition of fiber, types of fibers, wool yielding animals, wool. So in this video we will discuss about from fibers to wool. It means how can we obtain the wool from the fiber, because as we know fiber they are obtained from the hairy skin of the sheep and other wool yielding animals. So how can we obtain the wool from the fibers, and this wool is used to make sweater, shawl and other woolen material. So we are saying for obtaining the wool, the fibers, it is passed into different steps. These are rearing and braiding, shearing, washing and scoring. Fourth is sorting, fifth is carding, sixth is dyeing, seventh is spinning and eighth is weaving. So for obtaining the wool from the fibers, and fibers which are obtained from the hairy skin of the sheep and other wool yielding animals, the fiber it is passed into different steps, and finally we obtain the wool which is used to make sweater, shawl and other woolen material. Now we will discuss about each step one by one in detail in the next slide. So the very first step for obtaining the wool from fiber, that is rearing and breeding. Rearing means the rearers they take care of the sheep and other wool yielding animals for obtaining the fibers. So take care means they provide the food and they provide the shelter to the sheep, because generally we obtain the wool from the sheep. So rearers they provide the shelter and food to the sheep and other wool yielding animals. So rearing sheep are reared in many parts of our country like Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim. So rearers they rear the sheep and other wool yielding animals in the different parts of our country like Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim. Next is sheep feed on grass and leaves. They are also fed with a mixture of pulses, corn, jowar, oil cakes and minerals. And generally the sheep they feed on grass and leaves, but the rearer they also provide the mixture of pulses, corn, jowar, oil cakes and minerals as their food. Next is some breeds of sheep have thick hair on their body which yield good quality wool in large quantities. They are selectively bred to get sheep of good breed. This process is called selective breeding, because the very first step, that is rearing and breeding. Rearing means the rearers they take care of the sheep. Second is breeding. Breeding means when the sheep and other wool yielding animals they give birth to new young ones of their same kind, it is known as breeding. But rearers for breeding they select the specific characteristic of sheep, and they like the sheep have thick hair on their body which yield good quality wool in large quantities. So rearer they select the specific characteristic sheep, they have thick hair on their body so they can obtain good quality wool in large quantity. This process is known as selective breeding. So by the selective breeding, rearers they can breed the very specific characteristic sheep. Next step in the processing of fibers into wool, that is shearing. Shearing means the process of shaving the body of a sheep to obtain fleece is called shearing. As we know, fleece means the undercoat hair, the fine soft undercoat hair, it is known as fleece. So for in the shearing, the rearer they shave the body of the sheep to obtain fleece. Fleece means to the fine soft under hair, this is known as fleece. So the shorn sheep is immediately dipped in an antiseptic solution to protect it from skin infection, because the rearers they are obtaining the fleece from their skin and they are removing their hairy skin. So immediately they are dipped in an antiseptic solution, so sheep can prevent or protect from skin infection. Now next step in the processing of fibers into wool, that is washing or scoring. In this step, The sheared skin with hair is washed in tanks to remove grease, dust and dirt. This process is called washing or scoring. So, as we know, sheep for obtaining food, they move here and there. So, sometimes the grease, dust, and dirt they stuck on their hairy skin. So, after obtaining the sheared skin from their body, the sheared skin is washed in tanks to remove grease, dust, and dirt. This process is called washing or scoring. Now we move to the next slide. Now, fourth step in this process, that is sorting. In this step, the hairy skin is sent to a factory where hairs of different textures are separated. This process is called sorting. Because shearing means, after shearing we are saying the washing and scoring. Washing means to remove the grease, dust and dirt. The sheared skin is washed into large tanks and so they can remove the grease, dust and dirt. After then, that is sorting. Because when they wash sheared skin, some fiber they are very long, some fiber they are very short, some are very low quality, some are very rough, some are very fine quality fiber. So in the factory, the hairy skin is sent to a factory where the workers they separate the different texture fibers in a different groups. This is known as sorting. It means they make a different group of the rough fiber, they make a different group of the soft fiber, they make a different group of the long fiber, and they make a different group of short fiber. This process is known as sorting. It means on the basis of their texture they separate the different fibers. Now next step in this process, that is carding. The small fluffy fibers called wool are separated from the hairs. After then, the clean selected wool fibers are passed through rollers. In this step, sometimes we can see very small fluffy fiber they develop on the woolen shawls and sweaters. These small fluffy fibers are called wools. The wools they have to separate because with the wool, the woolen shawl and sweater they do not look good. So these small fluffy fibers which are known as wool, they have to separate from the fibers. So in the factory, the small fluffy fibers called wool are separated from the hair. After then, the clean selected wool fibers are passed through rollers. When they pass through roller, they completely straightens. This process is known as carding. This straightens the fibers and removes the unwanted matter. This process is called carding. So after separating the wools, the fiber they pass into rollers so they can straighten into a very fine quality wool, and after that again they wash in a large tanks to remove the unwanted matter. This complete process is known as carding. Next step. Next step in this process, that is dyeing. Dyeing, in this step the fibers are dyed in various colors because the natural fleece of the sheep and goats is black, brown or white. Dyeing means when we provide the colors to fiber, this process is known as dyeing. Because as we know, when we obtain the fibers from the sheep and other wool yielding animals, generally it is black, brown or white. But in the market we can see different the wool it is obtained in, it is available in different colors. So in the dyeing means the worker in the factory, the worker they provide the colors to the wool fiber. This process is known as dyeing. Next step, that is spinning. Spinning means the fibers are then straightened, combed and rolled into yarn. They are then spun and woven into fabric. As we have discussed in the last video, in the first video, yarn means a group of fiber. It is known as yarn. So spinning means when we straighten and comb and roll the fibers, when we twist the fibers, they change into a yarn. This process is known as spinning, and then yarn they spun into a fabric. Next step, the last step in this process, that is weaving. In this step, with the help of a weaving machine, the pieces of yarn get interlocked at right angles to one another. The woven cloth undergoes finishing, crabbing and chemical finishing. In this step, the weaving machine, with the help of weaving machine, the pieces of yarn, now because we are obtaining the fabric, now we have obtained the wool fibers from the hairy skin of the, and now we are obtaining the fabric. So the pieces of yarn get interlocked at right angles. So in this step, the yarns, two or more yarn, they get interlocked at right angles to one another. The woven cloth undergoes finishing, craving and chemical finishing. After then, the woven cloth, they go in the finishing, craving. It means they completely crave and chemical finished. Now we can see in this picture there are different steps in the processing of fibers into wool. Fiber processing into wool. First step is the shearing a sheep. It means shearers, they are removing the hairy skin of the sheep from their body. It can done by machine and it can done by hands. So this is the way shearing of a sheep. Then scoring in tail. It means after removing the hairy skin from the sheep body, they are washing this hairy skin in the large tank so they can remove the grease, dust and dirt from their body. Then scoring by machine. Scoring, it can be done by hand and it can be done by machine. Next is rolling into yarn. It means the fiber they roll, they pass into a large roller so they can change into a yarn. So these are some steps in the processing of fiber into wool. Now thank you for watching my video.